Yesterday, the country welcomed a new commissioner of prison. Today, the former commissioner of prison has taken the governing Progressive Liberal Party to court, and he is in the Supreme Court. There he shall allege that he was wrongly terminated, that Wayne Monroe is responsible for it, and that he is the real commissioner of prisons. It is a developing story, and so we shall see whether or not at the end of the day whom the court will adjudge is the lawful commissioner of prison. Meanwhile, the Progressive Liberal Party, Member of Parliament for North Abaco, the Honorable Kirk Cornish, shall return to the Supreme Court next Monday for the serious allegation of raping, allegedly, his girlfriend. So these are some major political questions and issues that will take place in our country. So the question is, did Wayne Monroe, the Minister of National Security, fire the former commissioner, Charles Murphy, or was it the government? It is being alleged that Murphy shall argue it was not the government, it was Wayne Monroe. But I don't know how they can separate. I don't know what's going on in the country, but whatever's going on, I find it to be very interesting indeed. So folks, I want you to remain calm as I attempt to see how best we shall be able to explain a lot of things that is taking place. And of course, it is our hope and prayer that we shall see the Minister of National Security today on our show. God save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. God save the Minister of National Security. God save the King. It's powerful today. Hold on, everybody. What a wonderful day in the judiciary. This is powerful. Only in the Bahamas. Welcome back to Freedom Match. My name is Rodney Monka, and of course, today happens to be Tuesday, the 23rd of April, 2024. Bradley Roll, as you know, is my spiritual advisor. And of course, we have a special guest today. It is the Minister responsible for National Security, the Honorable Wayne Munro. So let me start off by welcoming Mr. Munro first to Freedom Match. Minister, welcome to Freedom Match.
Thank you very much, Brother Banka.
And then, of course, let me welcome my spiritual advisor, Bradley Roll. Brother Roll, welcome to Freedom Match.
Thanks so much. Good to be here.
Well, behold, the Bahamian people, my spiritual advisor.
Absolutely.
Shall you gossip the gospel
Absolutely,
today?
absolutely.
Go ahead.
I'm here to tell people the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Yesterday, I made a statement. I told you that today I'm going to prove to you that when you examine the New Testament, that the word elder, the word bishop, the word overseer, the word pastor is the same person. It refers to the same office. All it does, the various words used to show the various functions. There's no difference between the bishop and overseer. There's no difference between the elder and the bishop. There's no difference between the presbyter and the bishop or overseer. It's all the same office. So here we go. Here's the first scripture. And listen now. I keep pleading with the public. In order to get this, you need to find yourself a red Bible. If you don't have a red Bible, you won't see this. So let's go to 1 Peter 5, verse number 1 through 4. And pay attention to this now, because he's addressing the elders. 1 Peter chapter 5, 1 through 4, it says, to the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder and a witness of Christ's suffering, who will also share in the glory to be revealed. He's talking to the elders now. Verse number 2 says, be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them. Look at the word shepherd. The original Greek word there is poimen. It's another word used for pastor. He says, be shepherds of the flock of God that is under your care, watching over them, taking the oversight. The word there comes from the Greek word which means overseer. Not because you must, but because you're willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve. Not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. The flock is the church. And then it says, and when the chief shepherd appears. We got some people who talk about they're the chief shepherd or the chief apostle. But the chief shepherd is Jesus Christ. When the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1 through 4. Did you line up the next one for me? Okay, well, we can always get back to it. But this passage, no doubt, shows you that the elder is also the pastor. Verse number 2, the word shepherd there comes from the Greek word which means shepherd. And then it talks about him taking the oversight of the flock, which is the church. Don't forget, you need a red Bible to see this. If you don't have a red Bible, you won't see this. You need to go and study it. And then challenge the various leaders of your particular local church and ask them why they believe that the term elder, overseer, bishop, pastor is used differently. It's not. They're used interchangeably is what we're looking for. Look at this. In verse number 28 of Acts chapter 20, Paul called for the elders. And here's what he says. Keep watch over yourselves and all the flock of which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers. He's telling the elders that they are overseers. He says, be shepherds. That's the Greek word for pastor. The elder is the overseer, and he is the pastor. Be shepherds of the church of God, which he purchased with his own blood. Acts 20, verse number 28. There's enough proof in those two passages to show you where the pastor, the bishop, the overseer, and the elder is the one and same person. They're not different. Thank you so much, Mr. Producer. May the word of God forever and ever be blessed. That is what is called Bible 101. But you need a red Bible, because if you don't have a red Bible, you won't see those things. Thank you so much. Back to you, Sandra.
I thank you, my spiritual advisor. Well, folks, we'll pay our first bill before we get into the news and our talk with the minister responsible for national security. My spiritual advisor, will you read the first ad?
Okay, under the patronage of Mistress Anne Marie Davis, spouse of the Prime Minister, the Bahamas Coalition of Advocates for Disability Awareness and Services presents Celebrating Mothers, an evening of inspiration and motivation. It's going to be held Sunday, the 19th of May, 5 p.m. at the Miles E. Monroe Diplomat Center, Carmichael Road. Come and enjoy performances by top Bahamian gospel artists. Dance performances, singing groups, mass choirs, hat modeling, lots of prizes, giveaways, and more. Early bird tickets are available at the Diplomat Center office in all seasons, all occasions, gift store on Madeira Street. For more information, please call 605-2585. That number again, 605-2585, or WhatsApp 804-1773, 429-7795, or 556-1773. Thanks so much, Sandra.
I thank you, my spiritual advisor. Well, folks, once again, we want to welcome the minister responsible for national security, the Honorable Wayne Monroe. But before we engage Mr. Monroe in some discussion, we just want to bring up one or two interesting points that is taking place in our courts. In the Supreme Court today, the case involving the former Commissioner of Prisons, Charles Murphy, began before Justice Cara Card Stubbs. And this is a matter involving the layman terms. These are layman terms that I'm using. His unlawful dismissal, and of course, he is alleging that his employment was terminated by the minister responsible for national security, Wayne Monroe. And of course, there has been some others who have argued, well, it's not Monroe personally, it's the government of the Bahamas, but it appears that the strategy is to separate Mr. Monroe from the government of the Bahamas so that at the end of the day, Monroe will be required to take personal responsibility should the court uphold the arguments of Mr. Murphy. And of course, we do know that the minister is expected to appear in the court, perhaps if not this week Thursday, next week Thursday, where he will be required to testify under oath as counsel for Mr. Murphy will properly scrutinize him. Well, of course, we live in an independent nation and a good judiciary, so I think everything is going to be fine. Meanwhile, on the 29th of May, the Progressive Liberal Party Member of Parliament for North Abaco, that is the Honorable Kirk Cornish, is expected to return to the Supreme Court. There, as you are aware, certain criminal allegation has been made against him, and it is alleged that he shall be accused of raping his girlfriend. So these are some of the controversial matters taking place in our country, as there is a major debate going on about marital rape and common law relationships. So it's going to be a very interesting matter. So we thought we would brief you on those matters. I shall not question Mr. Monroe about the judicial allegations which are being levied against him in the court, as we do not wish to you know, we do not wish to appear to be interfering with a very, very important matter that is taking place, but we do know that Monroe will be required as a minister, as a citizen, to testify, and there has been a dispute as to whether or not Monroe should be made, this is my observation, to find his own attorneys, or other than that, whether or not the Attorney General, the Office of the Attorney General, should defend him. So these are some very interesting legal arguments taking place. We all know that Monroe is an attorney by profession. In fact, he's one of His Majesty's counsel, and therefore Monroe, if Monroe was called upon to defend himself, it perhaps would save the state thousands of dollars. I don't know, but I think in fairness, I'll drop it, and perhaps until tomorrow when Monroe isn't here, and then the spiritual advisor and I could discuss it. What you think, my spiritual advisor?
Yeah, let's leave it until tomorrow.
Huh?
Let's leave it until, well, I mean, he's here now. I mean, go ahead. Just let it all hang
my
out.
spiritual advisor, if you give me godly counsel to put the question to the minister,
What is this
you.
that you need to question him on?
Huh?
What do you want to question him about?
Well, I don't want to be guilty of being subjudice.
Okay, contempt of court. So leave it. Yes. All right.
You follow?
Yes. Okay.
So I think we should leave,
So
it
leave
alone.
that alone. Yeah.
Unless, of course, you are having a
But
divine moment.
I do agree that if you have a girlfriend and you force yourself on her without her consent, you're raping her. But I don't think you can rape your wife, based on my understanding of the New Testament
What
scripture.
if the girlfriend has moved from the level of a girlfriend to the status of a sweetheart?
Do we recognize sweetheart as being some sort of a?
Say that again?
Do we recognize sweetheart as having any sort of legal rights in the country?
Of course.
How so?
You know what sweetheart is?
You can rape your sweetheart, all right?
My spiritual advisor, there are two women you can never rape.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
It's your wife and your sweetheart. Have you ever had a sweetheart? Have you?
Yeah, I had a sweetheart before.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You're so sinful. You don't let that sinful. I want the country to know that I've never had a sweetheart. Yes, my.
How are you talking about sweetheart? Have you never had one?
No, I was just looking at the law governing sweetheart.
Yeah, well, what makes you think you can't rape a sweetheart, though? That don't make no sense.
My spiritual
There's no
advisor.
legal recognition of any
Spiritual
sweetheart in this
advisor.
country.
Stop importing into this country foreign concept and foreign
Senator,
culture.
sweetheart doesn't have
Just
any
in the paper today,
legal recognition.
an official of the United States is alleging that women in the Bahamas are not equal. But last night, I watched ABC News, and they have levied a serious allegation in America that women in America are not being paid equal with men. And everybody knows that when it comes to making money, women in the Bahamas make more money than man, and women run this country. Okay?
So you
But
said
that's what the
yeah, but you
Americans
said
will
that
say.
say what though?
All right?
That still doesn't justify women, a sweetheart having any legal rights. They don't.
Say it again?
Sweethearts don't have no legal rights. If man married,
That's
the
not
sweetheart
true.
don't have no legal
That's
rights.
not true.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Don't force me to produce a case where a sweetheart has successfully argued
That.
certain rights, and the husband and his wife had to concede that she should get it. You want to hear what that right was?
What's the right?
Minister, forgive me, I must tell him.
What, child support?
That was the first right she demanded.
That
And
is
secondly,
understood. That
she
is
said,
understood.
as sweetheart, she was accustomed to a certain standard of living.
Okay.
And the court upheld that.
No, man, the court can't dig into the married woman pocket. No, sir.
Not her
unless
pocket,
it's a child.
her husband pocket.
That's what I'm saying.
My spiritual advisor, you're a bunch of
The
hypocrites.
court is digging into the wife pocket. Because this married man supports his wife. Now, if he has a child outside, he has the moral obligation to take care of the child. I mean, it is what it is.
I want us to leave that because I don't want to go into the file. Okay? If the minister
How we get on this
wasn't here,
anyhow? How we get on this?
I would go into the file. I'm just rebuffing what the Americans have alleged. Okay?
You can rape your sweetheart, okay, but you can't rape your wife.
My spiritual advisor, you have a sweetheart?
No, not currently, no.
Well, then,
I'm talking years ago.
He's not now married, so he
I'm talking with
so
years
he
ago.
cannot have a
Yeah,
sweetheart.
I'm talking years and years ago.
yeah, but he could become the sweetheart of a married woman.
And then he would be committing adultery.
Adultery.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to do that, Minister. So, Minister, there's lots of killing taking place in the country.
But let me just
I
tell you,
took
Brother
notes.
Monka, I looked at the
Pardon?
affidavit. I'm being sued in my capacity as Minister of National Security.
You're being sued
Yeah,
in your capacity.
as Minister of National Security.
Is it being suggested that if you are unsuccessful, you would personally be responsible to pay the fees?
I can't recall when I read the papers. I'll read them probably tomorrow before I go to give evidence on Thursday. But you can suggest anything. You can make any submission to the court.
Yes, but
it will determine what the court is likely to do.
okay.
Yeah.
But isn't that revolutionary to hold the politician personally responsible and in his personal capacity? Why, if a minister acts recklessly, in our party, the FNM, we've had a couple of ministers who have acted recklessly. Shouldn't that minister be made to pay as opposed to the state paying for him?
Well, it depends on how you sue the person. So, for instance, you can sue somebody in their personal capacity, or you could sue them in a representative capacity.
Okay.
So for instance, if you are a trustee and somebody sues you, Rodney Monka, then that means they're coming after you. If they sue you in your capacity as a trustee, there are rules that govern the relationship, and you have the Crown Proceedings Act and a number of other provisions. But we won't discuss that, as you say, until the matter is complete.
But have you been served any summons?
No, I was served with an action, and I swore an affidavit in response to Commissioner Murphy's affidavit.
Okay.
And then the matter went through the processes that a matter goes through in the civil court. So you have case management, you have case management orders where the judge puts the case in shape for trial so that you don't waste the court's time on the day.
Hold on, Minister. We may have to hold a hearing here. This is Freedom March. God save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. God save Charles Murphy, the former Commissioner of Prison. Hold on, everybody. It's powerful today. We'll be right back after the break. God save the King. Welcome back to Freedom March. My name is Rodney Monker. Bradley Roll is my spiritual advisor. And of course, the National Security Minister, Wayne Munroe, is our special guest today. And so we're going to pay another bill. My spiritual advisor, if it pleases you, will you read that ad for us?
Yes, everybody needs money, always. So send money internationally and locally through Western Union with Money Max. Download the Money Max app today to send cash instantly to a family member or friend, anytime, anywhere. Sending money has never been simpler. The app is available on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. Money Max. Live your Max life.
This is powerful indeed, my spiritual advisor.
Okay.
Mr. Munroe, in the House of Assembly, over the last couple of days, there has been this debate on a new bill. Perhaps I shall call it the bill that it is intended to outlaw gangs and to punish those who will either organize, join, or encourage gangs or people to become a part of a criminal organization. Where's that bill now?
Well, it's passed the House and it will be in the Senate next.
It's on its way to the Senate.
Yes.
So you're suggesting to me then that the lower chambers is finished with that debate. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct, Brother Monk. And it's the first debate since I've been in Parliament 2.5 years where the opposition actually debated the contents of the bill.
Where the opposition has
Debated the contents of the bill when they haven't run on with a bunch of folly.
Okay, so you're suggesting to me that the opposition performed well.
In terms of engaging on the issue for discussion, and they set their position out on some matters.
Now, Minister, having said that, are you suggesting to me that you agree with opposition leader Michael Pintard, who has suggested that parents should not be held responsible for the criminal conduct of their underage children?
No, Brother
And
Monk.
not be punished?
No, Brother Monk. I said,
And do you support what Michael Pintard has argued in the Parliament?
no, they raised some issues. So I said this is the first time that they have debated in the sense of raising issues about the bill. There's only one matter raised by them that we accept and are gonna act on. But you know, they raised a couple issues. The first was over the gang.
Over
The description of gang,
Yes.
and whether or not there has to be a declaration of something as a group as a gang before you can bring any action against anyone. And we disagree with them on that because the definition of gang, and I know you play journalist and you sometimes play lawyer,
I do.
so you'll know what I'm talking about when you know that the definition section, the interpretation section of a bill is where you can say in a bill a man means woman if you want.
Yes.
Because in fact the Interpretation General Clauses Act says the masculine includes the feminine, so it's saying man includes woman, right? So that's where you look for the meaning of things. And the bill says that gang means a combination of 3 or more persons, whether formally or informally organized, who act alone or in concert with each other with the aim of participating in gang-related activity, including a group declared a gang by the Supreme Court under Section 4. And then gang-related activity just talks about whether you plan on not being involved in an attempt in committing a serious offense, aiding, abetting, counseling, or procuring. That's all of them, eh?
Right.
A serious offense and conspiracy to commit a serious offense. But when they look at Section 4, they had 2 points that we don't agree with. That there's something wrong, that the Minister of National Security can make an application to the Supreme Court for a declaration that a group of persons is a gang. So that's the minister, and they say not the DPP or not somebody else. How come it's the minister? And they had big issues about that.
Just hold on for a second, Minister. You're telling me that the opposition is opposed to the minister, and in this case, the Minister of National Security, applying to the Supreme Court for a declaration that a group, as constituted, is a gang.
Yes.
Who do they think ought to be given that power to apply to the to the Supreme Court?
They say the DPP, but the problem with that is whoever applies has to be subject to cross-examination. So, for instance, on Thursday, since I'm a party to the thing with Murphy, I would be going to be cross-examined.
Right.
The DPP are lawyers who represent the state.
Right.
And lawyers aren't supposed to be questioned over anything.
Right.
So that's where you go. But you know, the sad thing about it is if they had done some research. In other countries, you don't even have to apply to the Supreme Court to what they call prescribe a group. In England, the Secretary of State just issues a schedule and declares you a terrorist organization, and that's it. But we built in a layer of protection where you have to apply to the Supreme Court. And then if somebody is, and the Supreme Court will, as you know, go through the machinations, and the government can't dictate to the Supreme Court. Because, you know, if I could dictate to the Supreme Court, I'll tell them, I don't want to spend Thursday in court answering questions, and that would be the end of the case. But the Supreme Court is independent, as you say, so that's the guardian of this. And if you're dissatisfied, you can appeal to the Court of Appeal. So I don't really understand that problem.
Could even go to the Privy Council.
Eventually, yes.
But I want to go back to what the leader of the opposition, as I understood it, he is alleging, or he has suggested, that parents should not be held responsible, or because they don't know that their children are perhaps practicing gangsterism, is involved in a gang, or is recruiting gang, and so whatever bad things that their children are involved in, even if the children lives home and is managing the gang from the parents' home, the parents should not be held accountable. Am I correct? Is that what he was suggesting, or did I misunderstand him?
Because he said the parent, you can't put out your child.
Say it again?
He said you can't put out your child.
You cannot put out the child.
That's what he said.
Okay.
Although when I was young, if I bought a gun in my mother's house, I know that I need to park my bike because I can't stay there.
But for the purpose of the law, could the parents put out an underage child?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You can put out a child that is under 18?
If your child cannot be controlled,
Yes.
You can put them out into the care of the state.
All right.
And in any event, what Section 10, Clause 10 of the bill says, is a person who knowingly, so knowingly is significant, eh?
Right.
That says you know
Right.
these things. Knowingly shelters or otherwise harbors a gang leader or a gang member commits an offense. So we're not holding you responsible for what your child does. We're saying your child is a gang member, your child is a gang leader, your child is committing offenses, you commit an offense yourself. So you can't, and harboring has a specific meaning by section, I think it's 344 of the Penal Code, which means conceal them to prevent their capture or trial. So the Prime Minister call it, the senior people call it cloaking. So you know the police looking for your child. For instance, a classic example I gave is, remember there was a homeless man who was ganged by some young boys?
Right.
Some young boys. And the police found some of them and were looking for others of them. So if you, Rodney Munka, had one of those boys and you look at the tape and you say, wow, that's my son ganging this homeless man. And so I know the police looking for him, so I can hide him in the house. that you would commit this offense and be liable to a prison term of 20 years, up to 20 years.
As not necessary as his father, but as his cloaker.
Yes, because
that penalty would be applicable to anyone who cloaks it.
Any person. Now, what it said is, if you're convicted of it, the court in sentencing you will take into consideration mitigating factors such as effort by the person convicted to reform or rehabilitate the child. So you don't get off the hook, because your natural thing should be, when you know your child is in a gang or a gang leader, since that is now an offense, you should make a report to the police.
Okay.
And then they can't say you cloaking the child or hiding
Once
the child.
I would have made the report.
Then you straight.
Is there any other remedy in law that I can take? Can I go to the court for a declaration that little Johnny, my son, is not a gangster?
I mean, why would you do that, Brother Monica? Listen, the simple thing is, we're returning the police to all the urban renewal centers, right? Because you were involved in urban renewal,
yes,
as it was in the glory day of it, before it was gutted, and now we're bringing it back. Because I saw you on one of your Facebook page inspecting a guard and taking a salute. So you know how urban renewal works.
Yes.
And so you know that if you think Lil Johnny is a gangster, you could either go to the police station or you could go to the Urban Renewal Center and say, look, this is the situation. And when you go to the Urban Renewal Center, people don't know whether you're going to tell the police something, whether you're going for a food voucher, whether you're going for them to come fix your house, whether you're going for them to move a car or clean a lot. They don't know why you're going there. So if you don't want to go to the police station, when you go to ask for that food voucher, when you go to ask for them to do some small home repairs or move a car or clean a lot, you could say, oh, by the way, you know my son in the yard is a gang member and a gang leader, eh? And that's it.
Well, let me ask you a rather strange question, Minister. Please forgive me. I'm certain you are quite aware of the many structures of the Negro family unit. So little Johnny is a gangster. He's my son, but I don't live with him and his mother. So the gangsterism that he practices with his ma. The stealing that he does and the proceeds from his crime, he take it home to his mother. Am I still responsible in view of the fact that he does not cohabitate with me, nor does his mother?
But you wouldn't be sheltering him, would you?
Repeat that again, Minister.
You would not be sheltering him.
I would not be sheltering him.
Not in those instances, because he's not with you.
So the law makes no responsibility, puts no responsibility on me as the father, by virtue of the fact that he nor his mother live with me.
Yeah, this, as I said, this is not a provision that is talking about making you responsible for your child's offense. This is a provision that says, you know your child is a gang member, a gang leader, and you cloak him, you hide him, you don't declare him and put him before the law. So for instance, you see your child coming home and he get all kind of money and you know he don't have a job. You see him coming home and every time he at home he get another phone and he don't repair phones. You see him coming home and every night you see him driving Japanese cars, small Japanese cars, and you know he don't have a job to buy one, and you see him changing license plates on these cars and you know that's not proper within the law. You look in the car, you see that the ignition has been bothered with, or clearly it's not his car, and you just keep quiet.
How then, Minister, do we make both parents equally responsible for the gangsterism of their children And particularly if one of the parent does not live with that child, is there not an obligation on the part of the state to make sure that every parent, father and son, notwithstanding that the mother no longer lives with the father, that the father no longer likes the mother, because there are some children we don't mind them unless we still in love with the mother. If we still in love with the mother, we mind them. When we followed with the mother, we say the hell with the child. How do we make both parents responsible? Yeah, the boy doesn't live home with his father, but how do we make him responsible as well? And did that law go far enough to capture fathers and make them more responsible?
If you're speaking about making a law that makes me responsible for another person's crime, and I don't play any part in the crime, and I don't conceal the crime, and I don't facilitate it in any way, there would be real problems jurisprudentially.
But shouldn't all parents be responsible for the rearing and the caring of their children? Why should we encourage a society where the child lives with his mother and his father goes free as the child wreck the society? How do we grab him
Brother
and tie him? Or is this law anti-woman?
You can only be responsible for your actions and your default. So if the child comes by you, for instance, there was a U.S. case with a young man who did some shooting, whose parents were convicted of manslaughter because they bought him the gun, because they knew he had mental issues, and because they did nothing in that instance. Although they were being held responsible when he went on a shooting spree, it was because of their positive actions that led to it. So if you have a mother who sent a child out to sell drugs to help fund the household, if you have a father who don't live in the house but sends the son out to do stuff because he tells the son, you're young, if they catch you, they ain't gonna give you the time they give me. Whether he lives with the child or not, there's an offense under this anti-gang provision that will catch him. But you can only be held responsible for your actions, your default. Otherwise, when you get in court, the mummy say, the daddy caused the child to be like that. The daddy say, the mummy caused the child to be like that.
But there might be evidence to support the mother's contention that the father contributed. I know a father, he had 6 sons, and each morning before he walked them to primary school, he put a joint in each of their children, each of their mouth.
Well, he would then be responsible because that's his action. You would be punishing him for what he has done. You see?
I understand that, but somehow I sense that this bill isn't strong enough to capture the men, the fathers of these sons. I want to hold men more responsible, and particularly those men who do not live with the children. I want laws that forces them to live with their children.
Well, Brother Moncalf told you the limitation that we have. But we have these, let me say, debates. And I would say if you can conceive of a provision, we can then test it in the crucible of, will this be likely to stand challenge? Because it's pointless just enacting a law that's going to be struck down. You only do that if you're playing with people,
Well, let's ask my spiritual advisor. He's a man of God. Man of God, what do you think?
I'm listening to the argument, and I guess, Santa, you want to hold the parent responsible for the child's action. Is that what the argument is all about?
Well, this law is fundamentally designed to capture one parent, and that is predominantly
The
female.
Okay, so how many parents?
And I want a law that will make fathers more responsible if it means that we have to get a court order ordering fathers
well, I mean,
either to move in
now you're talking.
or to have the children live with them.
so you're talking about single parent then?
This is designed to capture a single woman.
No,
Well, if-
why do you all say single parents? Say unmarried parents.
Huh?
Because if you have the other parent alive, you do not have a single parent. You may
have both parents.
You
Okay,
may
that's what
have
you're
a
saying.
contributing parent and a lousy parent. A single parent is when one of the parents
Is
died.
dead.
Yes.
That's the point I'm making, Minister. So I am saying to you, why is it that in this bill, it appears to me that it is not designed to make fathers more responsible and more accountable? Because only women can get catch in this.
No. It's not gender specific, Brother Manka. You don't know. If, for instance, Commissioner Clare tells me that they have sometimes 2-3 generations of men up there
Okay.
in the prison, father, son, grandfather, right? So if it is that I have brought you into what I am doing as the man, as the father, you will be caught. If it is that you don't live with me, when you shoot somebody, when you thief something, you come and hide out by me, that will make me responsible because of my action of harboring you, of hiding you from the authorities. But because you can only punish people for what they have done.
So we can't really hold the parent accountable unless they cloak.
Yes, you know what do we say in church? What do the preachers say? Spiritual advisor, Grammy can. When you before the judgment seat, it ain't what Grammy pray, it ain't what Mommy pray, it's what you pray. In the same way, you can't ascribe the wrong to the parent unless they are involved in it. And that is all this says, nothing more. So I don't understand what the opposition issue is. All the parent has to do is not cloak the child. And from a moral perspective, you shouldn't be doing that. From a moral perspective, if you love your children, why would you be cloaking them?
Yeah.
There was the unfortunate case where the mother was cloaking the boyfriend who had an issue, and it ended up causing the death of her daughter. So in this time when we keep telling you that the statistics, the record is showing that when people start gang banging, bullets don't have people's names written on them, they fly anywhere, that you can put yourself and your loved ones in danger. Why would you want to harbor somebody who somebody may be coming for? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to create that harm? Why would you not, if this is a minor child, take them, and this gives you something now to take them immediately to the police and say, we ain't talking about this child being uncontrollable. I'm telling you this child is in a gang, this child is a gang leader. And then the court will deal with the child, and it'll deal with the child under the provision of the Child Protection Act, where we have to look at the welfare of the child, the reform of the child. And we're taking many steps to address the proper way to do that.
What age children would constitute being a gangster?
It depends, Brother Monica. Let me tell you something that surprised me. When I came to the chair, we knew about the intervention in junior high school and senior high school. We now have a program called HYPE to intervene in the primary schools, because we have little gangsters in primary schools selling dope. We have little gangsters in primary schools selling vapes.
Selling?
Vape pens.
Vape?
Vape.
Like a smoking thing, like
vape.
vaping.
Vaping.
Like a smoking thing like.
So and that's why we outlaw recruiting gang members around schools, because some fellas will go and say, get the little, you notice how your 14, 15, 16-year-old boy charged with murder now? Because you say, okay, as an adult, I'll get more time than the child. So we can't permit that. And you have to penalize that. And what is important is this act, this bill creates offenses on top of what you do. So let's say you have a gun and we send you immediately to the gun court and you get 3-4 years. Well, there's an offense here, possessing a gun for gang-related matters, and that's a different charge.
Okay.
And we could charge you in the Supreme Court with that and seek to get 20 years, get you 20 years. In the meantime, you'll have to do your 3-4 years for the firearm offense, though.
We're fighting gangsterism. I think it's anti-woman. I want a bill that will capture the daddy them. Something in my head is telling me this, okay? I'm not sure what it is. Whatever it is, God save King Charles. God save young people. We will continue to fight the gangs. Are you a member of the gang? Welcome back to Freedom Match. My name is Rodney Monka. Our special guest today is the Minister responsible for National Security. But we are at a period when there's birthdays, so I'm going to tell my spiritual advisor to move swiftly with birthday because there has been 2 youth men who have been accused by the police of murder, and then we got the shock of our life without anyone telling us what was the circumstances. All charges would drop against them. And so I think it's great that the minister is here, so I could ask the minister, would you please tell me, how is it that the police were able to pick up 2 youth men, accuse them of the murder of 2 youth men, and then a couple of months later, they dropped the charges? What the hell is going on? You know, but my spiritual advisor, do the birthday.
Yes, let's do these birthdays quickly. So we want to send a special birthday shout out to DJ Curtis, his former worker here at 103.5 FM The Beat. Congratulations on your new profession as a police officer. We have a great time together at the RBPF Technology Expo 2024. So happy birthday, DJ Curtis. Then we want to send a happy birthday shout out to Sherry Moss. Well, happy birthday to my best friend for 50 plus years, Monique, aka Sherry Moss, coming from Daphne Hannah, and your adopted child, Anwar Battle. Love you, enjoy. I can truly call you my friend. Happy birthday, Monique, aka Sherry Moss. Let's see, who else do we have next? This young man. Happy second birthday to Alexander Thompson. You are our greatest blessing. Love your mom, Dr. Sherry Longley Thompson, your dad, Anton Thompson, your papa, Grammy, Gram, uncles, Basil Jr., and Baron, and Auntie Lisi. All right, so happy birthday, Alexander Thompson. Let's see. So he watches the show every day. His grandparents, one of the babies, them. I think that's what it says.
Yeah, you know him, Padamonkey.
Okay. So, we want to send happy birthday shout out to Ed the Agra Toot. It's happy birthday is coming to you from your son Jaheim and your daughter Brianna. All right, so happy birthday, the Agra Tooth. Then of course, yes, let's get back up here. We want to send a happy birthday shout out to our grandmother and Okay, I'd like to wish a happy staff support day to our mother and grandmother, Miss Grace. Wait. Sorry. Yes, okay, yeah, that, yes. Miss Grace Grant at the Howard Island All-Age School in Byron. We love you and enjoy the rest of your day. So this birthday shout, yes, is to our mother and grandmother, Miss Grace Grant. Happy birthday to you. All the best. We hope you enjoy many more. I think the one previous, that'll be an anniversary shout out, eh? I'd like to wish a happy staff support day to our mother and, forgive me. Happy anniversary goes out to this adorable couple, Elton and Lottie Williamson, who is celebrating 65 years of marital bliss from their daughter, Melanie, and the rest of the we love you and hope you live to enjoy many, many more together. God bless. Happy anniversary, Elton and Lottie Williamson. Let's do this quickly. Here's what we understanding, all right? Here's what we understanding, that apparently the gas station owners in the Bahamas, right, Esso, Rubis, and Shell, they want the government to grant their margin increase, all right? They say they've been asking for this for more than 20 years. Sorry, nearly 2 years, and they've been asking the government, it's now going on the 3rd year. They're saying that they haven't received an increase in 13 years. And what they're doing here is they sent this breakdown so that you can see what is happening with them as it relates to the gallon cost of gas, right? We understand the landing cost is $3.41. The government charges $1.15, the wholesaler another 34 cents, the retailer 54 cents, and the subtotal is $5.44 presently per gallon. And then the VAT is another 54 cents, which brings it to $5.98. So basically, they're only getting 54 cents or there's $5.98. It's become a vexing problem for the Gas Dealers Association, and they're just wondering, when will the government ever decide to give them a margin increase as relates to the price per gallon per gas? All right, so we're going to petition the government to see how swiftly they can move and just try to work with the Gas Dealers Association to see if they can give them this increase, because apparently they're getting ready to go to business. Either that or cut staff tremendously. Either that, or when you get to the gas stations, you may only you have to probably pump your own gas, because there won't be any gas attendants. Sorry, to pump this some gas for you. Anyhow, I think Mr. Vasco Bastian will call in at 5:30 to, I guess, make a further clarification about this bid or this call for this increase from the government. Also, the Men's Mobilization March is going to be held Sunday, the 28th of April at 3 p.m. in Grand Bahama. It's an island-wide national march, unity rally, and candlelight ceremony. Departing Cornelius A. Smith Complex, Freeport, Grand Bahama. A call to action. So, M3, Men's Mobilization March in Grand Bahama, Sunday, April 28th, 3 p.m. Island-wide nation march, unity rally, and candlelight ceremony. Departing Cornelius A. Smith Complex, Freeport, Grand Bahama. A call to march. Okay. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Sandra. You gave me a long run.
Birthdays?
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
You finished with birthdays?
You have any?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, you haven't finished. Yeah.
Okay. So we go back to the minister then.
Okay.
Well, Minister, I went to the scene of a murder that took place on Faith Avenue, where 2 teenagers were slaughtered and 2 Negro young men were subsequently arrested and charged. And then yesterday I had been advised that all charges has been dropped against the 2 youth men whom the police accuse of that double murder on Faith Avenue. Are you in a position to tell me whether or not that case involving the slaughter of those 2 young men is over now that the 2 principal accused has been set free? Is that file closed?
I'd like to answer that in this way, Balamanka. I'm advised that the police are confident that they have I was going to say men, but I'd say young men. Of course, the police do not prosecute in terms of voluntary bills. They can't sign voluntary bills. You would recall that your government, the FNM, removed that power from the executive and gave it to an independent DPP. I would say watch this space in about 2-3 days.
You're suggesting that we in the FNM is responsible? Because something is fundamentally wrong that the police, I went to the scene of that crime. In fact, I must confess, Minister, the people in that community, they were happy to see me. And I'm now shocked that the police gave me the impression that they had the 2 men, the 2 youth men, whom they believe were responsible for the murder, and nobody is being prosecuted, and nobody has told, and I'm being insulted. You see, Minister, I'm being insulted. Nobody has told me why the case has been dismissed, which leave me open to speculate. I don't like to speculate. And I think as a senior citizen, I have a right to know why the charges were dropped. Did the police arrested the wrong youth man? See, I need to know. So that when I hear the police arrest somebody, again, I can ask the commissioner, please, y'all sure? Because I thought we solved this case.
Well, Brother Monka, as I have said,
And if we're going to fight gangsterism, we have to fight it at every level of the society, because this dropping of the case smells, it smacks of something that is not good.
but Brother Monka, as I said, the police are confident that they got, in your words, the two right youth men. They do not control the signing of voluntary bills. There's an independent DPP in our office that deals with that. I would say that as a senior citizen, you live long enough that you should have patience. I suggest that you have patience for 2 to 3 days and see if there are any developments. You see, Brother Monka, what I've said, I've heard you railing about, for instance, the death penalty, and I don't want to get into a serious discussion about that. But the reality is that who gets charged and gets charged with what at the Supreme Court level that decision has been given to an independent DPP that is independent from the executive. So it doesn't matter what charge I think the person should be charged with. I might think they should be charged with capital murder. Nobody can tell the independent DPP what to charge with.
Well, I want that law to be repealed. I want it to be repealed. How old is that law, Minister?
Your party did it, if I'm not mistaken, in the administration. I don't believe
Minister, it has to be repealed. It goes against the ancient principles where the politician took political responsibility for everything. I don't know who is the director of public prosecution. I've never met the Negro citizen.
You might have.
I have never voted for the person. And I went to the crime scene, and I'm very, very upset that no explanation. See, there could be good reason not to prosecute, but tell me, I'm 67.
Brother Monka, just...
For me to be 67, and nobody thinks that I ought to know? Hell no. Minister, I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, you look strong, right? So let's say you make it to your 10,
right,
which is 3 years from now.
Yes.
3 days, although one never knows what could happen. I just tell you, give it 3 days.
3 days.
And wait and see.
Okay, this is powerful.
We waited on 3 days for the resurrection, eh?
Yes.
So let's give it 3 days.
Okay, well, the minister has told me, tout le monde haïtien, Jodéa, ministre dit, il voulait 3 jours encore pour expliquer. I want every Haitian to know the minister has given me 3 days more to explain. And I'm not suggesting that anybody involved of Haitian ancestry, save than to say that we were living right there among the Bahamian people. So there were scores of Haitians who heard the gunshot, and we were very upset, and there were scores of Bahamians who heard it, and they were upset. And all I want to know is what's going on. If there's good reason to discontinue the case, just tell it to me, and let me be satisfied, or let me question it. Other than that, you leave me open to speculate. And I shouldn't have to speculate before the entire population of the country. I shouldn't. All right? So we shall see what the minister tells us in 3 days as we fight gangsterism,
Yes.
which could be at every level of the society, every level. So, Minister, we have this bill, but the bill doesn't punish murderers. How can we fight gangsterism when the gangster knows that he can kill, but we will not pop his neck?
Why do you continually say that?
Whose neck have we popped since the PLP came to power in 2021?
The decision as to charging someone with capital murder or not is a decision to be made by the Director of Public Prosecutions. That is not any longer subject to any political accountability.
And this what the FNM put on us?
Yes, Brother Monka. And then, whether somebody is convicted and sentenced is a function given to an independent court. And then you have the right to appeal. And I keep hearing people talking about the Privy Council don't believe in hanging, but they just gave a decision to say it's either Trinidad or Barbados that has the mandatory death penalty, whose constitution is a little different than ours, whose provision is a little different than ours, who says their mandatory death penalty is quite constitutional.
This is a recent ruling.
Yes. So, at the end of the day, the Bahamian public needs to know, for the reasons set out when they did it, the decision as to charging with capital murder has now been vested in the office of the DPP.
And this is what the FNM did?
Yes.
You sure it's us?
Yeah, I could go find the act just so you could read.
I really don't remember us doing this.
Yeah?
You think it's Carl Bettel?
I think so.
Minister, I just saw him the other day. I didn't know it was him.
Or you would have cursed him out if you'd known?
I don't question him. Lord of mercy. Now, Minister,
you keep blaming us for things that you all did, and you're supposed to be, supporting us. Now, why you keep blaming us for things that you all did?
It's hard to believe that we of the FNM would do that.
Really? Why so?
Right, but Minister, since we're fighting gangsterism, the issue of rape in marriage continues. When are you going to free married women, whereby if she thinks her husband is a rapist, she can just go by a judge and say, listen, I think my husband is a rapist, I want to get out of that marriage?
Yeah, she can do that now.
What are we going to do about it? Because I'm tired of this talk about decent married men are raping their wives. And
let me be quite clear with you.
When are we going to solve this? When are we going to tell these women who think that their husbands are rapists, that they're free to go?
But Monica, I hear you talking about this concept, right? But there are offenses now that a sexual offense now that a man can commit against his wife.
Why is these PLP women, Minister, the women who are creating the confusion, they are supporters of the governing Progressive Liberal Party. Why is it that the PLP cannot whip these wayward women into line?
You mean why can't
we don't have this problem in the FNM,
No?
We don't have this problem in the FNM. You name the
last
FNM woman.
No woman in the FNM agitating on this.
The last FNM woman who agitated Dr. Minister chop her head right off.
But Monica, today you're saying no FNM woman is agitating on this?
No.
I don't think you're right.
That woman in no FNM.
You mean Senator Barnett Ellis is in the FNM? Go on now. You're laughing. But, I've listened and heard this, and for men, lest they think, husbands, lest they think they can act with impunity with regard their wives, would do very well to know that it is not so. If you beat your wife to have sex with her, you will be charged with the assault.
Okay.
So all of this talk as if you own a woman, it is not so. God owns us all. Now, at the end of the day, you can commit an offense with regard to your spouse. So I don't want men misinformed to believe that they can't. And you can be guilty of unlawful intercourse with your spouse.
Unlawful intercourse. When is the intercourse unlawful?
I'm finding it right now for you, Brother Monica, because I sometimes hear you and it's as if there's some ownership and okay, all that is fine.
So you mean to tell me now, your wife ain't your woman? That ain't your wife? Because she ain't my wife.
Well, by definition, to commit the offense, the person has to be your spouse, because the offense is any person who has sexual intercourse with his spouse without the consent of his spouse.
Right.
So the offense is defined by saying,
Okay.
this is your wife.
Okay. All right.
You see?
All right.
And it's where there's an existence in relation to them, a decree nisi of divorce, a decree of judicial separation, a separation agreement, or an order of the court for the person not to molest or cohabit with his spouse, or any other order made under Part 2,
Right.
or where the person has noticed that a petition for judicial separation, divorce, or nullity of marriage has been presented to a court.
So if you violate any one of those, you can be...
In any one of those instances,
Right.
Okay.
you can be
So that's
guilty.
clear.
That's clear.
Yeah,
That's clear.
So I don't want in this discussion for it to be lost, sight to be lost of
Right.
that. And I wonder if men realize that you are to love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so that means if a man come in the house with a gun and it's you or your wife, you're supposed to let him kill you.
Absolutely.
That's how Christ loved the church.
He gave himself for the church.
Now,
He died
if,
for the church.
Now, if that's your relationship with this woman, right, where you're willing to give your life for her, explain to me how you're going to have these problems that y'all talking about.
Well, the problem doesn't exist.
Right,
It
ain't no
happens to
problem.
be members of the lesbian
no
community
problem.
who's
Everything's-
leading
everything's
this.
cool, man.
And the
No problem.
Americans is in the paper today saying that there's a level
Brother
of
Monica.
mistreatment
Brother
of
Monica.
lesbians.
No.
Do we have lesbians in the country, Minister? Because I don't see any.
Really?
No. I walk up and down.
How does a lesbian look as far as you're concerned?
Well, L, G, B.
How does any of those persons
How
look?
we all can allow? We are
But
Christians.
Monica,
We're Christian.
no,
gentlemen.
you trying to
How we can
skirt-
allow the Americans to come here with all this devil talk about lesbian
See,
and
but
having
see-
kinky sex?
No, but see, you switch.
I mean, if we
Now
are
you're
Christian,
trying to flip the script, Brother Monica.
Huh?
I've heard you gotta love your wife is yours, and you love your wife like Christ loved the church. The wife and the husband is one. Who abuses their own body? Isn't
Nobody
it?
abuses
no, but
their-
isn't it a sin to abuse your own body?
yes, but
Okay, so we would expect no good Christian man to abuse his body.
No, of course not.
So we would expect no good Christian man to abuse his wife.
right,
No, of course
Okay,
not.
good. Once that's established, we on firm
right,
ground.
right.
Now getting back to
Yeah,
the
but now
other man.
my definition of sex in my marriage may not be the definition of the kinky people down the road.
Right.
See, that is where the problem is. Their rules as to how they having their sex, they want to put that on me, and I don't believe in the kind of sex they have. I don't think my sex should be like that.
They don't want you to hold. They don't want you to hold your wife down.
Say it again. My spiritual advisor.
Can you
I could
hold,
never-
No, Brother Monica,
Yeah.
can you hold yourself down?
My spiritual, my
If you cannot hold yourself
You can hold
down,
yourself down.
if you cannot hold yourself down, because this is all about y'all being one.
One.
If you can't hold
Yeah, you
yourself
could
down,
hold yourself, man.
Really? You
Yeah,
can hold
you
yourself
can
down?
hold yourself down,
Really?
man. Yeah.
Now,
What's
when
the-
you holding
you
yourself,
can hold- listen,
when you
there's
holding,
not- there's
when
not-
you holding yourself down, at any point yourself want to be released. How easy is that?
Just get out.
You just tell
release,
your
yeah.
mind, release me, and you release. So if your wife is like yourself, why wouldn't the same apply to her? When she say release me, you just release her.
I want the
See, you're
government.
trying to duck this point. Stop,
no.
stop trying to lead men not to live up to their responsibility.
To treat
to
their wives
love
properly.
their wives
Absolutely.
like Christ loved
Yes,
the church,
spirit of
and as
God.
they love their own body.
Absolutely, absolutely.
My name is
Agreed.
Rodney Monka. Our special guest, we're talking about gangsterism. We're talking about marital rape. It's Wayne Monroe, the King's Counsel. We'll be right back after the break as we continue to talk. Welcome back to Freedom March. My name is Rodney Monker. Bradley Roll is my spiritual advisor. Our special guest today is Wayne Monroe. And we have been talking about corruption. We have been talking about gangsterism and a new piece of legislation. And I've been rather disturbed over some criticism by the government of the United States of America, in which the Americans are pushing propaganda. And I'm very upset that in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas we have over 900 attorneys at law. And if I am a justice of the peace and read the newspaper, and everybody know in this country that I'm not a well-educated man. Now I hang out with people who are well-educated, but I'm not a well-educated man. But as a semi-illiterate man, I read the newspaper and I said, I'm going to watch to see if the PLP is going to be bold and brave and answer the Americans. The Americans have said that if a Bahamian citizen was to adopt a child, if a married woman, a Bahamian woman, was to adopt a child, the child could not take on Bahamian citizenship, and that is not true. First of all, there's a woman named Lynn. Lynn is a woman who holler Vesco. Okay? And all the Lynn holler Vesco children, it is alleged, was adopted by her. It is alleged. And it is alleged that they are all citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The Americans should check that out. So why are they saying that? If you adopt any child in the Bahamas, that child becomes your child, and therefore it takes on your citizenship. But the Americans are pushing propaganda. And they're pushing this propaganda because, one, the Americans are not as educated as we, the English, are. See, we're the English, you know. We're the British. King Charles is our king. And most of our lawyers have been trained in London. London trained. Monroe, why are you all allowing the Americans to say that if you adopt a child in the Bahamas, the child wouldn't get citizenship? Are the Americans right, or is it me showing off?
Well, firstly, Brother Monk, I don't know the majority of lawyers are English trained.
Pardon?
I'm not persuaded that the majority of lawyers are English trained.
Okay.
But that's a matter of numbers, right?
Yes.
And one developed country is much like the next. But you are right. Section 11 of the Adoption of Children Act tells you what happens upon the adoption order being made. It extinguishes all rights, duty, obligation, and liability of the birth parents, let's call them that. And it says, the last phrase of that section before the proviso says, and the parents of the adopted child shall stand to the adopter exclusively in the position of a child born to the adopter in lawful wedlock.
Explain that to me, counsel.
The child will be regarded as if it's your child born in wedlock in the Bahamas. So back when only legitimate children could inherit,
Right.
this child would have been able to inherit when your illegitimate children could not.
Wow.
Your illegitimate biological children could not at the time that was the law. Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham changed that part of the law. But that is why when you have an adoption of a child who is foreign, the courts always order that the Attorney General is made a party to adoption to make sure it's not just a ruse to give the child citizenship.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Americans are wrong.
If that is what they say. What the complaint used to be is that Bahamian women who had children abroad and were married, you see, if they were single and the child was born out of wedlock and they were born abroad, they would still be Bahamian by
Yes.
birth, right?
Yes.
So in a way, we encourage
The British.
sweethearting, right? So
We inherited sweethearting.
no, we're encouraging that. That's what we
We're
signed.
encouraging sweethearting.
If-
All them women didn't have no children for no married man.
No, but
That the woman was single and the child father was single. That isn't sweethearting.
No, brother.
If the woman is a single woman and the man is a single man, that's boyfriend and girlfriend.
no. Well, then sexual immorality, if that's what you believe, fornication.
Yeah.
Because if the child is born abroad and the woman is single,
Right.
the child is Bahamian by birth.
Yes.
Right.
Now, what used to happen, the complaint is, what would happen is the child is born abroad to a Bahamian woman married to a foreigner. It's not a Bahamian by birth.
Right.
But if the mother brought the child back to the Bahamas, adopted the child in the Bahamas,
Right.
this kicked in and the child became
Right,
a Bahamian
because,
by virtue of adoption.
We have a clear example.
Now, I
in the
don't know
FNM.
that jurisprudentially you could adopt your own child.
How you mean? In the FNM, most of the County Joe people who marry foreign man, when they came to Nassau, they opened New Finland and Arahana. They just went to court and they adopted all the children.
No, I know you could do that if you are adopting with a spouse who is not the child's
Right.
biological father,
Right,
but with your actual husband or by yourself.
right.
I would question that.
Okay. So the Americans are wrong. And it should not be an uneducated man to challenge them, because I don't have the academic validity. So I call on the Bahamas Bar Association, those of you who are educated, stand up and defend the king's law. Don't forget who the Americans are. They're a bunch of insurrectionists who overthrew our blessed King George III. It's history. So I just point that out. And in the paper today, I got about 10. There's about 10 mistakes the American has made. But I decided I don't want too many people to know that I kind of smart. So only that one I'm going to point out, and the rest I'm going to just tear up the newspaper and keep quiet on it. So the Americans are wrong. They should hang their head in shame. And somebody in the Bahamas should tell the Americans that they should hire a JP to be their lawyer. Now, Monroe, what we're going to do to reduce these killings? The Commissioner of Police say crime is low, but people are still getting killed. How do you explain that crime could be low, but people are getting killed, and now the people they charge with murder, they drop the charges and nobody would tell us why?
Okay, the last point, I've addressed that. You imagine if he had to wait for the resurrection? You had to keep going to the tomb, man.
For 3 days, man.
You used to keep
I have
going
to
to
bring
the
that back
throne.
up, my spiritual
No,
advisor.
Brother
There's so
Monka.
much killing taking
Brother
place,
Monka.
and I want it stopped.
No,
I want Monroe to start hanging these Negroes, because the people who are doing the killing is Negroes.
No, Brother Monka. Firstly, stop going to the tomb to check, right? Come back in 3 days. Give it 3 days.
3 days.
The Commissioner of Police, when he gives statistics, just giving numbers,
Yes.
he didn't say it was low. He said statistically the number of crimes was lower last year than the year before, with the exception of sexual offenses.
Okay.
Right? All of us say it is too high. One murder is one murder too many. So the government has set out, and we say it, the 5 pillars. The first one is prevention. Everyone can be involved in that. It has to be all of government, all of society efforts. So you're in Black Village, right?
Yes.
You used to have a school behind your yard out under the tree. I forget,
Yes.
call it the dilly tree or the tamarind tree. I forget which one of the trees.
I got the biggest tamarind tree in Black Village.
How much I value that for you on your declaration?
How much did I say? I think
I say 350.
No, I said 300,
thousands.
and you said no, it's worth 3,000.
I
But
can sell
I'm
that
being
for
honest.
you. No, I can sell that for you. Someone will come, pick it up, root prune it, and sell it.
Yeah, well, I got many trees.
But when you were doing that, weren't you making an impact to prevent those set of young children from going the wrong way?
Yes,
So and you were showing care for other people's children.
yes.
So that's prevention. there are a lot of people getting involved in prevention because prevention is better than cure.
Yes.
And that is where we have to, as a community, come together. And you know, this gang thing is trying to address that too, because it's saying, you have little children who are in gang, you have your children who are in gang. You stop it when you say, look, he's a gang member. Then the police come, we get him. The court won't necessarily sentence him to detention, you know.
Right.
It could give him a conditional discharge.
Yes.
All sorts of things. But then you get him when he's on the way to wrong, and you can move him to try set him right. So all of it is trying to prevent people from going wrong in the first place. But if you go wrong, then we have to equip the police to catch you. And that we are doing. We're using all methods to give them the resources they need to do that and to equip them through manpower. We'll be recruiting 200 additional police recruits shortly to be trained.
We have more policemen?
Have to.
Okay.
Because you have to replace those who retire,
Yes.
who die, who get dismissed for crookedness, that
Right.
kind of stuff. You have to
Right,
replace
right.
them. And we're going to be the commission's going to be training 100 in New Providence, 100 in Grand Bahama. And so we keep doing that. And then we're seeking to address the court system too, to try to speed that up. And you'll see some legislation coming on that soon. And then you got to punish people, right?
Right.
But the punishment is only depriving you of your liberty. Because you have to remember now, when they used to take people up to prison in a school bus, it was a school.
Right.
And you just learn how to supposedly do it better next time. And so that brings you to the last one, which is rehabilitation. And we are pushing rehabilitation. We have finished the consultation on the conditional release of offenders bill to come, and that is 3 types of conditional release. You do something wrong, you could be put on probation because it ain't too serious, and if you live up to the conditions, that's it. Or you could do something more serious, you could be given a suspended sentence, which means I sentence you today to 3 years in prison, but I suspend that sentence for 3 or 5 years if you live up to these conditions to keep you straight. If you don't live up to the conditions, you know that you're going to jail for 3 to 5 years. And then there's parole, which is the real paradigm change. Mm-hmm. Do you know today, Brother Monka, if the court sentenced you to 40 years in prison for murder, say, when you go before the commissioner, you know how much time he tells you you're going to spend?
How much?
26.67 years.
Really?
Yep, because they take off 4 months out of
They're
every
taking
year.
off. They're taking off time now.
4 months for every year in terms of remission. We intend to do away with that.
I need you to be hard on crime, Minister.
No, Brother Monka.
Goodness me.
Don't focus so much on being hard on crime. How
Okay.
parole works is this.
Okay.
Right now you get 4 years off for good behavior, 4 months off for good behavior. Mind you, you get sentenced because you were behaving badly. And when you appear before the commissioner, you haven't behaved either way yet, but you get 4 months off, and if you misbehave, they could add some time back. But what we propose to replace it with is you can do all your sentence.
Really?
Some of it in, some of it out. So right now, when you get your 4 months off, if you come out and you commit an offense on day 1, you never serve those 14 years that you got off.
Wow.
Ever. But what parole does is we might let you out before that time, but if you come out and you commit an offense, you owe us 14 years.
Wow.
And if you commit an offense, we're going to call on you to serve that 14 years before we deal with you for the next thing you have done.
Wow. That's tough love.
Well, not really, because we will impose conditions to try to help you. So if your problem is drugs, you have to get drug treatment, not hang out with the people. If your problem is being around bars and certain people, that could be a condition.
Okay.
If your problem is you're a heathen and you have no sense of morality, you can be directed. I did when I imposed probation, tell the fella he had to go to church once a month.
Okay.
I wasn't telling him what church, but he had
Now,
to
if
find
he's a
that
Rasta,
church.
what happens then?
That's a church.
He has to go to the Rasta camp.
They have services.
I want to go
They have
across-
services. You know that, though, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they smoke dope, though.
Not
Yeah.
in their service.
They don't?
Not in
Yeah,
their
it's not a part of their worship?
Not no. You need to go and check them out. They do that separately outside of their service. They
Okay.
also don't let juveniles use marijuana.
Right, but they still smoke dope in the hole, right?
Well, Minister, I want to go off course for a second. I'm concerned over the fact that there's been quite a number of people who are disappearing. Do we have any unit in the Royal Bahamas Police Force, in the Defense Force, perhaps in the prison, who are dedicated to finding people? I have a friend, he's an F&M. We call him Big Mama. He's a Stubbs. He disappeared in F&M country. Nobody could find him. And they got me mad over the fact that I think his name is Philip Stubbs.
How old is he?
He's in his early 70s, perhaps.
What's his mental capacity like at this time?
Well, the last time I saw him, mentally, he was doing very well. I don't know if he has, if he is still as coherent from the last time I saw him. But I'm very disturbed that in an island that is called F&M country, that they cannot find this prominent F&M supporter. I'm very upset about it. What can we do? And what kind of unit can we put together when people are missing, that we don't have to worry about, we can mobilize to search for them? Because I don't like the fact that I can't find my friend Big Mama, and it appears that the F&M has discontinued the search.
Were they searching at some point?
Pardon?
Were they searching at some point?
What?
Were they searching at some point?
Grand Bahama.
What I would say is this, Brother Monica. The police do have policies about reporting adults missing, right? Nothing stops you as individuals, like you say, if it's a party, going looking for the person. The police do investigate missing persons reports.
Yes, but I want a unit. I want a unit dedicated to finding children and other senior people in our community. Something got to be wrong for this man who was a well-known citizen, a well-known member of the Free National Movement, that he could be lost in F&M country and not one F&M could find him. So I have to appeal to the state.
They reported him missing. I have no doubt.
He's been reported missing.
I saw that. Now,
could you look into that for me, Minister?
But the question would be where to find him. I know that we have cabinet has approved a very exciting proposition with regard surveillance that will help us with matters like that, to give us access to about 100 times more cameras than we have now.
Okay.
With the assistance of AI technology and facial recognition, that if in the future, once it's initiated fully, somebody goes missing, you would upload their photo and then the system would hunt for any time they have passed one of the cameras.
Okay, this is good.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I want to ask is, I've been told that the Defense Force has been quietly deporting members of the Haitian class to Haiti. Is this going on, Minister?
Yes, but
and is there anything I could say to you publicly to soften your heart?
Soften my heart in what way?
Well, I love the Haitian people, and I yearn to be with them.
So you want to go on the next trip?
How many people have you deported in recent times?
You want to be embarked on the HMBS Lawrence?
I don't mind. I don't mind going for a trip. I
can see if I could arrange that.
See if you could arrange it.
Yeah. So you next time you come here, you could say you come here from Haiti on a boat.
Yeah, I don't mind, but I need to carry my videographer and a number of aides. Right? Unless, of course, you can assure me that the defense force is going to take care of all the cooking and so forth.
They take care of the cooking.
Really?
Yeah, they have a medic on board.
Okay.
They have everything. They're professional military. But there have been, to my recollection, at least 2 trips. One that took back, I think it was 167, I believe, and the one before that it took back just under 300. Because, as you were aware, the airports were closed for deportation purposes. And I believe the senior commander, who is the CO of Lawrence Major, says that it takes less than a day or a day to go from Inagua to Cape Haitian in the north. And so while we continue to have them coming and being apprehended, we have to continue to return them to their place of citizenship, and and we're doing that now by using the HMBS Lawrence Major, the auxiliary vessel, to take them usually from Inagua directly to Haiti, although on the last trip I think they left from New Providence and took a little longer to get to Haiti.
So the deportation is continuous?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anybody lined up to be deported soon?
That is, the Defense Force just facilitates the Bahamas Department of Immigration.
Okay.
So I don't know if they have persons in their detention center to be repatriated, because some of them are interdicted on the high seas, and then of course some of them they find on the land. I'm told there are a number of them in B-docks.
Right.
For certain offenses that I don't understand why we're feeding them when we could just release them on license, deport them back to their place of citizenship.
Okay. And there is anything that I can do to save some of the women from going? Is there anybody I can petition, Minister?
What are the circumstances of these women?
Huh?
What are the circumstances of these women you want to stop from going?
Well, there is a Haitian woman. We should call her Marie. Marie is Goss. Yeah?
She's big.
So you wanted to stay here so child can be born here to have 18.
Yeah. The baby was made here in the Bahamas.
You sure?
So, yeah, man. Yeah.
The father is a Bahamian?
I doubt that.
Okay, well, if the father was a Bahamian, that might be a consideration. But if the father is not a Bahamian, I don't know that would be a reasonable consideration.
But if the father's Bahamian, that's good ground to make a petition. This is powerful.
I don't know how you're going to prove that, but
that is true.
That would be something that could be considered, because from the recent ruling, the child would be Bahamian if he were born here. To some, that might be a reason to turn down the grace and let the child be born in Haiti.
Now, the final question. It is not intended to embarrass you, so please forgive me. When is the government of the Bahamas going to obey an order of the Supreme Court and bring those 2 Haitian boys back to Nassau? I do not think it is a good excuse to say it was the FNM who break the law. It's not a good excuse. If a judge of the Supreme Court orders that children should not leave the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and they were unlawfully deported, yeah, it's the FNM who did it. Shouldn't the PLP uphold the law and return the children to the protection of the court?
Well, firstly, I did the case, Brother Monica, so yes, you're trying to put me on the spot. But there was no order for them to be returned, as far as I can recall. There was an injunction prohibiting them being deported.
Right.
But I'm advised that the relevant steps are being taken to issue them documents for them to return to the Bahamas. Of course, Haiti is in a state that one has to be careful how one moves, and I'm advise that that may be what is complicating their return.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So at some point, we should be able to see the order of a judge of the Supreme Court being respected.
Well, it was already disrespected by the FNM. It just prohibited you deporting them. It hasn't, there's no order as far as I am aware, and one could have been made when I ceased to be in practice for them to be returned.
Okay.
This present administration tries its level best to respect the courts and obey its laws and its rules.
Okay. My spiritual advisor, do you wish to ask the minister
It's too late, man.
And the last of
any,
them.
if you
it's
wish
too
to
late.
ask the minister
Only
any
55
question?
minutes, only 55 seconds left, Brother Monica.
Yeah, this is true.
You've hogged up all the
I
time.
tell you, man.
Yeah. But you see,
You know, it is what it is.
say I'm suspicious that the spiritual advisor. Minister, I want to thank you. Okay, you must come back because we haven't finished discussing.
And
the
when
bill.
we come back, spiritual one, and let people ask me questions,
Yes.
and he must have his way sometimes.
Yeah.
Even if he have his F&M friends, ask me questions.
This is pretty much God save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. God save the King.